I don't even know what to say. I felt, because I saw your new film, Hush Up, Sweet Charlotte, and I kind of felt the same after that. I sort of feel like there's something about your films that take you into the bowels of the underworld and bring you back out. You're such a funny writer, such a clever writer, but there's a darkness and kind of a sadness, a depressing sadness to a lot of your characters in a strange sort of funhouse mirror kind of a way. It's a little carnival and it's a little 1960s indie film, and it's a little dark and a little really other dimensional.
Thank you. I mean, to me that's a compliment because that's what I intended. I don't think, again, I couldn't ever imagine just doing a parody. I can't do that because anybody can do that as far as I'm concerned. You can just take a bunch of drag queens, put them up there, and then make them all mimic this. But are you going to be 100% engaged? Are you going to start caring? Are you going to be taken on a journey? So I actually took it and I went, okay, I really want to delve into who these people were and fill it out even more than the original film. I wanted you at points to be able to care about Baby Jane. I really wanted, I really read the script and thought about it. And I said, let's do another, I even had people say this is a new form of genre. So it's a parody, but it's dark, and it's still, it takes you in a totally different way than a typical thought of what a parody is going to be.
It's like if you pick the characters up and put them in an alternative reality, and then put them back in. And so you sort of feel I always feel a little drugged when I watch your films. Like when you drink the codeine cough syrup, and then you go to sleep and you wake up in the middle of the night and you're trying to get to the bathroom and you sort of feel like you're on a magical mystery tour. That's how I feel. But Matthew Martin, is amazing, and amazing in Charlotte as well, and has a way of playing these really out there characters that make you feel sort of disgusted for them, but at the same time sort of akin to them. He has an amazing range of pathos.
Yeah, and that was crucial that I made sure that you saw a little bit of a sadness in his heart so that you actually cared. Because if you don't care for the people that's that person or that disgusting whatever that we think, you've got to start having sympathy for them and be able to get an idea that they had a terrible life. Yeah. And then, of course, at the end of the film, you find out that, even in the original film, but honestly, in the original film, I don't think you saw that much of her heart.
Yeah.
So I wanted to take these wonderful, amazing films that we love and see if I could go deeper. And I did that with Charlotte as well.
Yeah.
I tried to go deeper. I tried to Charlotte in particular, there was a lot of no purpose or reason why things were happening, so I had to do a lot of backstory. Yeah. And even in this, I did just a little bit more backstory, and I dreamed up more backstory, and I dreamed up more what they were feeling when stuff was going on.
And there's almost kind of a Southern Gothic to the sadness and the weirdness and there's a lot of weirdness, and you really feel that feeling like you never know what's going on inside someone else's house. Both of your parody films have that. This sort of claustrophobic feeling of having no idea what's going on within the four walls of a house.
Exactly. We've all lived around those neighborhoods,
we've all lived in that house occasionally.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But what, did I say too much?
No.
But you don't really know what's going on in other people's lives.
No, you don't. And we all have the Ozzy hair. We were brought up in an era where we thought everything was perfect. I lived in a very, upper middle class neighborhood. Everybody had their new car every year. But when you found out later that the parents down there were beating their children, and the people next door were taking drugs because one was a doctor and was sick of his wife, so he kept on feeding her drugs. That was the perfect early 60s America, right? Because we all perceived that it was flawless, and the reality was everybody was really screwed up because of what was going on. At least that's what the middle to wealthy people were like. That was
I was
what
raised
I
in
saw.
the 70s. Everybody was just at a key party.
I was raised in the 60s.
By then, people had
You know?
discovered Coke, so
Yes.
the illusion of the perfect world was over.
Yes, and thank goodness they were. But I just that's what my life was like. They all had the new Cadillac, they had all the whatever, and everything was screwed up in their little homes. And it was, make America great again.
Yeah.
Well, that was that.
Well, I grew up in Orange County, where the same thing. Everything was very, very perfect on the outside.
Exactly.
And we lived next to this family that was, very, very Protestant, very Christian. They got to sit in the front pew because they donated the organ. That kind of a family. And as growing up, and we were sort of the crazy witch house because Mom had dragons and fairies everywhere. And one night I came home from college at 2 a.m. I worked in movie theaters, and there were cops everywhere. They wouldn't let me on the street. And one of the perfect Christian kids, the one who had the Harley Davidson with Jesus airbrushed on it, had killed his girlfriend and her father. And so that's the perfect family, right?
Exactly. That's the illusion that we created by holding everybody in.
Well, and that's part of Baby Jane's problem, right?
Exactly.
Is that she still thinks she's the perfect child.
Exactly.
And lives in this world
just
where
that illusion where she's going, no, I made the money for this house.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's that original thing. But I was just I just wanted to make it more impactful, even though at the same time I wanted to make it funny. I wanted to have a good laugh, but I also wanted you to be taken on a journey.
But when you think about it, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, the original, is really kind of a sad child actor story. Before people really talked about sad child actors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she really is somebody who peaked at 10 and is still kind of living it.
And then, of course, later she tried to make films, and they were just terrible because she couldn't move forward.
So she was still 10.
Yeah, she still wanted to be, and I'm going to make my dresses. They'll look exactly the same, Empire waist, blah, blah, blah. But they've got to be a little shorter, right?
Right, because Daddy said sell the sex. And that wasn't a little scary.
And that,
Daddy wanted to sell the sex.
But we know that all I did was push things. I took things and I went, I'm just going to push this because this is actually what I'm seeing in this movie. You know what I mean?
I know.
So I just kind of super realized it. So I really overly think these things. I know I do.
No, because there's so many layers to your film that as the film goes on and on and on, you begin to start to feel yourself sort of chemically rewired, and you start to feel a little like we were kind of all squirming in our seats. You get viscerally uncomfortable in a very delightful way. The same way that I think you do when you go to a not scary farm or a scare fest or a Halloween haunt in one of those mazes where they purposely push every button and make you feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. You have kind of a dark underbelly, other dimensional ringmaster thing about you.
Thank you. I think that's
it's meant as a high compliment.
I take it because I'm so thinking out every scene and every shot and every movement that the actors do and everything that I have said.
It's wonderful. You guys have questions? Anybody have a question? Yeah.
Well, I have more of a statement. What I thought was kind of interesting that the foil to Baby Jane and Blanche are Helena and Prince Herman next door, and how there's the putative audience. They're the ones who are always spying and seeing. Trying to see what we already see more of, but I love the fact that they're sort of the normal ones, despite the fact that they're the Bates, and they got the nephew Norman in their family, and so they're obviously not normal, but that they are the normal ones in this universe.
And of course, when I realized that she was Mrs. Bates, I went, well, of course it's Norman Bates' relative,
right? Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, which means they're screwed up too.
Is it supposed to be set in the 60s?
Yeah, that was 62.
Okay, because everybody looks like a different era, because they sort of stop. So Blanche looks like the 40s. Baby Jane looks like the teens.
Right.
So it's I had to take a minute, but the neighbors look like the 60s.
Yeah, exactly. It was 1962 when the film was made.
I like that it had that kind of theme to it.
And Elvira
they
was
were
like the
stuck
60s.
in those time periods.
Exactly. They were all individually as they did back then. We see it even more back then than we do today, is that people would have a moment where they stopped. What they loved and what they remembered, they would stay there.
Yeah.
They would stay in that era. you know.
I think
And
that still exists a lot.
yeah,
You walk down the Sunset Strip and you see guys stuck in the 80s.
exactly. That's
Except
true.
that now they have like 3 hairs that they've turned into a comb over. But they're still working, they're trying to work those leather pants still.
It's
and
true.
They
It's
look
true.
just
You
that.
still-
I think
yeah,
it
it
still
is true.
happens, yeah.
It still does exist, of course. But I think back then, I remember so many times that growing up in Hollywood, I went to Hollywood High, and I'd be walking down that street every day, and then it would be amazing some of the people that you'd see on the streets.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember this wonderful, beautiful old woman that would always walk up and down the street, and she was all white. She just looked like Baby Jane with her little berets and her gloves and her little everything matched. And she's just, I'm going down the street to go shopping, you know. And there were so many like that. I feel fortunate I actually got to see that.
You don't see that as much as you used to.
No, you don't.
Stephen, you had a question?
Yeah, you did a great job visually. It's really spectacular. But I saw it shot on location in San Francisco. So is the main house an existing Victorian, or was it all interior sets? Or
The interior, well, the living room was a set. The bedroom was a set.
Oh.
Because I wanted to recreate that bedroom. That was something that I felt was really, really important because there was so much going on in that bedroom that I tried to duplicate as much as possible. And of course, I had the painting of the Joan Crawford character, which was actually a painting of that particular actor. And just try. That was so important to me to get that right. We didn't have the money. I made that for $15,000.
Wow.
what?
Made that for
Beautifully made.
$15,000.
Beautifully made.
I mean, that was it was insane what we did.
Wow.
But I'm such a stickler to detail. No matter what I have, if I've got $1.95, just like if you were to see my short film, my Montgomery Clift film, we did it for $1,500, and it looks like an old film.
Yeah.
You would
it
never
does.
know.
Yeah.
But you make you choose. You just try to choose as wisely as possible, so that everything can transport you into that era.
Yeah.
So
Beautifully done.
thank you.
What
Thank
about
you.
the staircase and the wallpaper? Was that all?
That was all original from the house.
Isn't that right?
Even the
And
carpeting and everything?
Yes, all the
Wow.
carpeting.
Oh, So-
That
the-
super
so-
old,
the old-
the old dresser that she opens when she's in Jane's bedroom.
Yeah,
And you can hear that drawer that
now,
is
a lot-
super old.
A lot of that was brought in from, I was fortunate to have a dear friend of mine who was the production designer as well as he did Charlotte, is that he has a large amount of antiques. So he was able to bring in
Oh.
everything that I needed.
That's awesome.
So, but that's so important to me,
Mhm.
that everything look right and feel right. Otherwise, to me, you don't have a movie.
I had a question. Is the Baby Jane character based on Shirley Temple?
I doubt it.
I thought she was based
I
on
think she was based
Baby
on
June, right?
Yes, I think
Gypsy
she's more-
Rose Lee's
Yeah, I think
okay.
she's
sister.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think she
yeah.
was based on Shirley.
Uh,
But I
No.
mind you,
No,
but
but
you
she's
know,
vaudevillian.
Well,
Shirley
not
yeah,
that
there was
Shirley
someone
Temple.
more like
Yeah.
that.
Let me
Shirley,
take that back. Not that Shirley Temple ended up like Baby Jane later in life, but just the
She
look
ended up like an
of
ambassador.
her in
Yeah.
the beginning
Right, yeah.
with the curls and
Yeah,
the
No, but
I
she
think that's
danced.
Baby
But that's
June.
what everybody did back then.
Yeah.
That was the look that a little female
Yeah.
would look like.
Okay.
Right, you all
It
know
was
this
the
Baby
sausage
June
curl.
from,
And the story would
from
be
Gypsy,
that.
if you've seen
Exactly.
Gypsy.
Yeah.
It's like, I always thought that's who she was supposed to be,
Yeah.
because the name is so similar.
Exactly.
And she also had baby in front of her name.
Exactly. Exactly.
And-
But there were other ones. There was another female star too. I can't remember. I saw a documentary recently about her, and it was Baby something.
Oh my god.
So
She
it
just
was-
died. I think she just died.
That person you're talking that I'm talking about?
She's a big star in it.
Well, there's
She was-
Jane Withers, there's Baby
there
Jane
was one
Withers.
that was called Baby something.
Yeah,
She
Baby
just
something, and
Died
she-
at 100 and
Yeah.
something.
And that was the thing. And anybody, the little girl with the curls and everything.
Well, and in vaudeville, you could keep her like that till she was 30.
Oh, insane.
Because nobody-
Especially if she
Yeah,
was
the light.
petite.
Nobody was looking. Eyeglasses weren't that great. I mean, people
No,
weren't paying
and
any
people
attention.
didn't care. I mean, just think of all the
It was vaudeville.
the major actors that would be on stage. They'd be 90 playing Juliet. you
I mean,
know.
look at that. There's that Latin soap opera, right? The Mexican soap opera where the the guy's been playing El Chavo, right, since he was a kid.
Yeah.
But now he's like 80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can't do
But
the-
but
now
that's
he's a
that
teenager.
vaudevillian ethic that you just kept playing those characters.
Yeah.
And then movies came in and ruined everything,
Yeah, yeah, especially
took that away.
talkies.
especially for 40-year-old child stars.
Yeah.
That's still they're dolls.
And I had asked you this on the red carpet earlier about the casting And how did you pick the actors you ended up with? Just tell the audience, like, the casting call and how you picked everybody, how it kind of flowed.
This was, it all had to start with my Betty Davis impersonator. I mean, if you don't have a good Betty Davis, you don't have a movie here. That was crucial.
Did you have him first?
Yes,
And then
I
got
had
the
him
idea
first.
to do the movie?
Yes, I actually saw him in a stage play called Christmas of the Crawfords that was performed here in New York, and last year it was in New York and San Francisco. And I had saw it, and he played Joan Crawford's maid. It's a silly musical, but it's very fun. And I just was mesmerized by him. I said that he's doing Betty Davis as an impersonation very different than we normally see. Because yes, he does some silly things like with the lashes, but everything is pretty much pulled down, very real. And you feel him differently than you would like Charles Busch, who is great and we love him, but everything Charles Busch did was, what a dump, you know? And Matthew didn't do that. I went, oh my God, he'd be amazing for film. And due to my first film that I tried to get up going, it all fell apart, and I was like looking at my crazy ideas in my brain, and this was something, you know, I like. After I saw this guy, I went, wouldn't that be hilarious? I did a parody of Baby Jane. Oh, that's so stupid. I would never do that. Honestly, I did that to myself, you know, and lots of talking. And after everything fell apart with my first, what was going to be my first feature, which was a movie about Elizabeth Montgomery in the last 3 or 4 months of her life, starring Christina Applegate.
Oh, wow.
And but everything fell apart, money-wise. We're talking 2009. So I went, well, what is the craziest idea I had? I know, I could call this guy, and I bet you he'd do it, because he would love to do it. And so after that, it was going and looking around. It was in San Francisco, looking at local talent, and they have an amazing talent pool up there who would fit these different characters.
The interesting thing about how Matthew does Betty Davis is he energetically hits you in all the places that Betty Davis hits you. So it's not that he's doing a perfect Betty Davis as Charles Pierce does.
Right.
But he's actually the kind of actor that Betty Davis
Yes.
is. So it's hitting you in all those places.
Exactly. That's what's amazing about Matthew, is he's actually an actor who creates this thing. He's not just an impersonator. He's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
And he does many, many different characters, and he plays himself as well, or I say a male, whatever. And he's just a good actor, and that's one of the things he did. And that's crucial, right? And that's what's different of just hiring a drag queen, so to speak.
Right.
Which is just...
That's when you hire Mrs. Bates, for Mrs. Bates.
Exactly, and that's what I did. But he was still, the person who
Fantastic.
played
Oh my God,
Aquino was still hilarious.
The
you know?
rhythm between them of the repeats and just the rhythm of their dialogue, the two of them.
Yeah.
You're
Now,
amazing.
Thank you. Mind you, a lot of that is editing.
True. Right.
It's amazing on what, you know, that was...
But actors that can do the same thing,
They
that
can.
every time the door opened, it was the same
Exactly.
exact energy.
Exactly. And I don't mean to be putting them down at all, but this movie was something wild for me, because it was my first feature film. And for the first time, I realized I could create something different. I could create totally different feelings by just the way I edited it, and how I wanted to pause something, and how I wanted to find. I mean, you'll find things in that bedroom that you don't even know, because she was always wearing the same outfit.
Yeah.
That I could pull from another scene, because I liked the way she looked over. And it would have created a totally different feeling, because all of a sudden she went, you know, like that, and I didn't have that in the scene.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You know, and so I was able to pull from that all the time, because Blanche was always wearing the same outfit.
That's wonderful. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, my
And thank you for
Hey,
sitting
don't
on